Today I'm going to give you a tour of the winter sown containers and what I've sown so far this year. Let's go. Hey friends, it's Kendall, your joyful farmer. Today we're going to take a look at all of the winter sown containers that I've started this year. Winter sowing is the process of starting seeds outside in vented greenhouse style containers that stay outdoors during the winter months. I have two other informative videos about winter sowing that walk you through the classic process as well as some hacks and modifications to the method. And in case you haven't watched those, I'll link them in the description below this video. So the first thing I'll show you is that I have several clear totes with smaller containers inside of them. This is the way that I like to sow seeds that I really only want a few plants of. I can fit quite a few varieties in each container. These are all repurposed clear totes, and this year I'm trying something new, and that's some clear UV protectant spray as sort of a sunscreen for the plastic in hopes that it'll help extend their life. So in container number one, I have a lot of herbs and greens going. I have something new that I'm trying this year, and that's salad burnet. Salad burnet is supposed to have cucumber flavored leaves that are really good for putting in salads, and it's supposed to be a very hardy perennial that will really last in the cold out here in North Texas. How cute are those little leaves? These will be ready to transplant out here before too long. I also have some fennel that looks like it just recently sprouted. Fennel is super cold tolerant as well. I also have some chives that have come up. I have a really tough time growing chives, and winter sowing is a great way for me to get some hardier chives. I'm glad that they've popped up, and I'll put them in some of the herb gardens behind me. There's flat leaf parsley. There's a couple of little seedlings that have popped up. But if you have one parsley plant that goes to seed, you'll have volunteers all over the place. And it's super cold tolerant. It survives down to, I think, 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is really cold. There's hyssop. I've always found that hyssop does well winter sown. These little babies, there's quite a few of them in this container, so I'll probably pluck these out and put them into maybe a part of a 72 cell plug tray so that I have some extra plants to share. This is a great stage I've found to do this at when they've just started to get their true leaves. It's a great time to go ahead and separate some of the seedlings and put them in new containers. Some of the seedlings I'll probably just leave in here and let them continue to grow in this container. Another one I've had a lot of germination on is white chia. This is my first time growing this one. This one I believe is frost tender. So if I want this one to survive out here when the next really cold spell comes through, I'm probably gonna have to pull it into the greenhouse or cover it really well. But I'm excited to see what the chia does growing it this year. And a couple more that I have that haven't germinated yet, but they do have some little rogue seedlings. Like this is a salad burnet, and this I think is a hyssop and a chive. They just, sometimes when I sow my seeds all in these same containers, I'm not super careful to not overlap the seeds into other containers. But I have red shiso and cumin. I do like growing cumin, and every time I winter sow it, it doesn't come up until later, closer to the springtime. So it really likes warmer temperatures to germinate. Probably didn't need to winter sow this one, but it was easy enough to just put some cumin seeds in a container. And then red shiso is something new that I'm growing this year. It's a Japanese kind of leafy herb that's red, and it's supposed to have sort of a lemony flavor to it, and you're supposed to be able to cook it up like spinach or add it to dishes. So it's one that I thought that I would try this year, red shiso. Let's see what we've got in container number two. Container number two, there are a lot of things that haven't germinated yet. I've got some dill that has popped up. Looks like it's germinated pretty recently. It's a Ducat dill. I also have some curled chervil, which is new to me this year. It's a type of parsley. It's more of a French style parsley that's supposed to have a more delicate anise flavor. So I'll try cooking with that. And then the ones that haven't come up this year just yet are the milk thistle, the German chamomile. Oh, actually, there's a tiny German chamomile baby that's popped up. So that one looks like it's starting to germinate. The butterfly milkweed, the coleus, the salvia, it's a blue salvia, cactus, and African daisy. I'm a little surprised that the African daisy hasn't germinated because those tend to do well in the cold and they tend to like germinating in the cold okay. But for some reason it hasn't. And then also balloon flower. The rest of these I'm really not surprised that they haven't germinated because those are all the ones that really appreciate warmer temperatures to start their life cycle. So not a whole lot going on in container number 2. Container number 3, all of these have popped actually. I am growing chicory for the first time this year. It's used as a coffee alternative, and I'm really excited about how beautiful these little plants are looking. It's a relative of perennial asters, so I'm really not afraid to let it sit out here in the containers in the cold, and I'm excited to see how it does this year. What pretty little seedlings those are. The leaves are just so thin and delicate. My stinging nettle popped. That's exciting. I did grow stinging nettle last year, but I didn't grow much of it. I had one plant and I really didn't get to try it in tea. So I'm excited to try stinging nettle in tea this year. That one's doing well. There's a little bit of catnip. I always have to try and start some more catnip plants for the cats, but also for tea. The flowers are really good in tea, and it's a nice, like, calming medicinal tea. French thyme. Those are looking really good. They're pretty tiny right now, but they are starting to get their second set of true leaves. Thyme is just one of those slower growing herbs, but it's doing great. There's Russian tarragon. I think the tarragon that I have already is Russian, but I just wanted to try and grow some more and get a few additional plants and have some to share with friends. Tarragon's a really great cooking herb. There's anise, or anise as some people call it, but it is going to be really delicious in some tea. Those look awesome. I'm also growing for the first time this year summer savory. It's supposed to be kind of similar to thyme, but with a little bit different flavor, and it does smell like thyme a little bit, but it's another really slow grower and got lots of little baby plants in there. There's toothache plant. I'm really excited to see these popping up, and I've got several, but these are actually good for numbing teeth or numbing the mouth. You can just pick the flowers off and chew on one, and it is a numbing sensation in your mouth. It's kind of like stinging nettle. It has that same sort of sensation, but on your tooth, it's supposed to reduce pain. So kind of an interesting one I thought I would try to have around this year. It's 40 degrees and humid, and I'm a little bit cold right now, I'm sorry. There's rosemary. Rosemary is one of these seedlings that I think people have a lot of trouble germinating indoors, or it's just notoriously difficult to germinate. But take a look at that. Like, that looks great. Those rosemaries are doing great, and I have done nothing to help them along. And last but not least, there is another type of fennel. This one germinated a while back. You can tell it's got its true leaves already, but it's got some roots coming out of the bottom. Looks really good. There's not a whole lot going on in box number 4 just yet. It looks like half of this container hasn't been getting much water because it's been on a slope, so the water's been draining to one side. Though we have had a bit of a warm spell over the past couple of weeks, so that must be why these guys have actually germinated. These typically haven't germinated yet in February, but a little bit of warmth, I guess, helped them along. But this is spider flower. These are some seeds that I saved from a plant last year. These plants are just really pretty. I'll be sure and put a picture up on the screen so you can see what they look like when they're blooming. But they are super pretty plants. They're very spidery. So these will be fun to have around. I have a couple of borages that I winter sowed. There's a blue and a white. It looks like the white has yet to germinate, but I do have one blue that's popped up. Another herb that I'm trying for the first time this year is mitsuba. It's a Japanese parsley, and it's supposed to have a flavor that's somewhat between parsley and cilantro. I just thought it would be an interesting one to try. Seedlings look good. They're kind of a different shaped cotyledon. There's also some oregano in here. There's some wild za'atar oregano. Lots of little seedlings in here. A lot of these I'm gonna have to end up plucking out some babies and moving them into some bigger pots here pretty soon. Here's another kind of rosemary. It's called Rosy. It's supposed to have pink blooms, so I was excited about that one. And look, not doing anything to them. They're just germinating and doing just fine. So rosemary and winter sowing go together hand in hand. A few more in here that I'm waiting to germinate are some orangelo thyme. It's supposed to be more of an orange flavored thyme. And then there's a lemon savory, which is supposed to have more of a lemony flavor. And then goji berry and phlox. The goji berry, I'm really not surprised that it hasn't germinated because it likes those warmer temperatures to germinate. Here's box number 5. There's a couple of things that have sprouted in box number 5. I have some cilantro. That's a slow bolt cilantro. That one's germinating great. I probably will not separate these because cilantro's roots are a little bit more fragile. But I'll probably just plant these like this in the spring in just a few weeks when they get another set of true leaves. I also have a type of lavender that's a different kind. I hadn't seen this type before. It was called oregano lavender, but you can see there's several little babies in there and of course a little stray cilantro. And then this lavender is a white colored lavender flower. And because I'm growing cut flowers, and I've heard that lavender makes a great cut flower, I was trying to grow some from seed. And lo and behold, I have about 3, which isn't a great germination rate on the number that I put in here, which I probably sprinkled maybe 12 or 15 seeds. So hopefully maybe some more of these will pop up, but I'll take 2 minty torch minty ice lavenders that are white. Exciting. I also have some more chives. Looks like this batch is just starting to germinate over there. I think this box has been a little bit drier than the others, so that may be hurting the germination on some of them as well. I may have to wait a little bit longer. This one hasn't been watered as well. Oh yay! Okay, I have one little popolo so far. Popolo is supposed to be a heat-tolerant herb that is the flavor of cilantro. It's a totally different shaped leaf, but it's supposed to do well in salsas and things when we have tomatoes in July and our cilantro tends to bolt and not be as good anymore. Hopefully this popolo will be a good substitute in pico de gallo and things like that. Oh, there's a few little mountain mints. Mountain mint is one of those herbs that has really, really tiny leaves on the seedlings. So I don't know if you can even see those, but they're itty bitty. But mountain mint is a really nice flower that the pollinators love, and it makes a great tea as well. It's minty and sweet. Oh, and I've got a couple of different types of bee balm, and it looks like I have a couple of seedlings. This one again hasn't stayed as moist as it should have. This container, I don't think that I had the lid secured on it, so the moisture wasn't as trapped inside the container as it should have been. But I've got a couple of little bee balms. Hopefully there will be more that germinate. And a couple I'm still waiting on are Moldavian and Stevia in here. Some of these containers I've sown and they've been out here for several weeks now, and others I put out just recently. So this one was a recent one. It's actually got some little babies germinating. I'll have to zoom in and show you up close. But this one has Veronica, which I was excited to find some seeds for. Veronica is typically grown, I think, from cuttings, propagated from cuttings. And then there's apple mint, which is one of the mints that has more of an apple flavor that I really want to use for tea.
tiny.
So there's several little apple mint babies in there. I'm so excited. This one's been outside for quite some time. These are actually probably overdue to be transplanted, but this is a type of yarrow called flower bowl fruit burst, and it's just supposed to be a whole bunch of nice bright colors. So I'll get these planted out here shortly. There's a lot of little ready plants in there. There is lemon mint. This is another Monarda, another bee balm, and it looks awesome. There are tons of these in here, so I'll definitely have to share some of these with friends. And they're at a point where I would start plucking them out and putting them in larger containers, like some. Either I might put some in some soil blocks, some 2-inch soil blocks, or I might put them in the 3-inch pots. Or I may even, there's so many, I probably could fill up a 72 cell plug tray as well. Oh, my agastache! This is like Christmas, y'all. Every time I come out and look at these winter sown containers, more things have germinated. This is agastache, which I've had a difficult time germinating any other way than winter sowing. There is the rose mint and the apricot sprite in there, and there are tons of little babies popping up. I'm so excited about that. In this container, I've got some Canterbury bells. These are some that were grown in smaller containers, and then I up potted them into these 2-inch soil blocks, and they're getting nice and big and pretty at this point. So this is what happens when you get those smaller plants and you up pot them. You can really get away with getting them a little bit larger as transplants before transplanting them out. These have they're on their 3rd set of true leaves that they're growing, which is, this would be an okay size to transplant out as they are, but it'll be nice to be able to get them a little bit bigger because they've each got space in these soil blocks. And then here are some Canterbury bells that were so spaced out in their container, I really haven't up potted them. They're growing at slightly different rates, so you can see some of them that are a little bit more crowded. There are smaller plants, and some of them are larger. So. And over here we have a lemon balm. Lemon balm is popping up over here. There's a whole little cluster. Oh, there's more down there too. But quite a bit of lemon balm popping up. And I love lemon balm for tea. It's a great kind of anti-anxiety tea. This container just says lavender. I think the seed packet just said lavender. It wasn't a specific kind of lavender. But there's several of these that are popping up, and some weeds as well. It's always fun to find little weeds. It's been raining today and these containers are wet and cold. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. This is great. This is my salvia. This is some more different types of salvia. There's an amore plum and an amore salmon. I think I got both of these from Baker Creek, but look at that. Some winter sown salvia doing just fine out here. We also have purple orach. Look at these plants. And I'll have to show you the underside of them because I don't know if you can see it from that angle, but they are bright purple underneath. They are so pretty. But this orach is so cold hardy, and it'll make a really great green, like a leafy purple, leafy green. So in here I have some Dusty Miller and some Sweet Annie. It looks like these are a couple of containers that haven't really done much yet. There's a couple of little seedlings over here, but I don't know that those are Dusty Miller. They kind of look like weeds. So still waiting on that container. There's some ajuga, which makes a really pretty ground cover, and there's a lot of little plants in there, but the ajuga, I sprinkled quite a few seeds in there, and so they're growing, but they've got a lot of space, so that'll be good. And in here, something special for my fellow Texans is our Texas blue bonnets. growing in there. I really would like a whole field of bluebonnets, but I haven't had the chance to plant a field. But one bluebonnet at a time, we'll get some bluebonnets out there in the pasture. And over here, the rest of our milk jugs that we've got going. We have a double champagne hollyhock. Looks like we've got maybe 6 in there. Double black hollyhock, those are popping up as well. Double chatters hollyhock. And we've also got eucalyptus. So I winter sowed eucalyptus last year, and so I started some additional plants and a couple new varieties to me this year. There's some baby blue eucalyptus and silver dollar eucalyptus. It looks like at this point they've all germinated. And the eucalyptus, some of the varieties are hardy down to about 28 degrees Fahrenheit, -2 degrees Celsius. But I probably won't risk it with the eucalyptus. I'll probably pull them in the house or in the greenhouse overnight when the nights get below freezing, just to make sure that they survive. I also have this eucalyptus tetracornis, which I don't think has germinated out here. It may be one that needs a little bit more warmth to germinate. It's got more triangular shaped leaves. It's a really pretty one. And then there's one called silver plate. Eucalyptus silver plate in my very short stumpy jug. There's those eucalyptus in there. Tiny stumpy jug. I also have some Parker's yarrow, which is a yellow variety of yarrow. I don't remember sowing that many seeds, but there are a ton in there. There are billy buttons, which are the little yellow spears of Cresspedia. Really pretty little plants, great for cut flowers. Oh, my sweet Joe Pye weed is germinating finally. Sweet Joe Pye weed is a native that's a really good one to have around for pollinators. I also have feverfew. There's a ton of feverfew. Scarlet sage. A sage scarlet. This one is a Texas native, so I'm excited for this one. I have a couple of little babies in there. There's something called rattlesnake master, which I had a couple of plants last year that sprouted winter sown but didn't quite make it when I planted them out. It was just really dry in the spot where I transplanted them, and I didn't water them very well. So then there's pearly everlasting. Doesn't look like any of those have come up yet. And some more bluebonnets. These are actually maroon bluebonnets, which I think were bred and developed by Texas A&M, the Aggies, who are maroon. And soapwort. Wow. Oh my goodness. I just broke that one open. But there's a bunch of soapwort. And a couple more I haven't quite looked at in a while. Some more agastache. Yay! I've got tons of this agastache fragrant delight. And some more swamp milkweed. The milkweed doesn't seem to germinate until a little bit later when we get closer to spring. Oh wow, a lot of lavender. Way more lavender than I'm going to need. I'm going to have to put those in some separate containers. Maybe I can grow a field of lavender all from my winter sown lavender. Oh, and this is my little experiment container. I actually winter sowed some tomatoes, some jalapeno peppers, and some calendula. The calendula popped up first, and then the tomatoes have germinated over the past couple of weeks that we've had that warm spell, and the peppers, of course, are still holding off because it's really not been warm enough for them. And these are some of my mom's containers down here. She's got feverfew, Shasta daisy, and echinacea, and it looks like her hibiscus has actually germinated. That warm spell, I guess, caused that hibiscus to germinate. And then we have rosemary, which hasn't popped yet, and some more lavenders that she's got. So hopefully those will germinate here pretty soon as well. So what are you excited about winter sowing this year? I always love to hear about what you're growing, so please let me know in the comments below. I wish you joy, and I'll see you next time. Are you trying to say bye?